In a quiet town, nestled between rolling hills and whispering trees, lived a painter named Leo. He was known by everyone, though not always for the reasons one might expect. Leo was a man of modest means, his clothes often splattered with paint, and his hands perpetually stained with the colors of his craft. He spent his days in a small studio at the edge of the village, where sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating his canvases and the dreams that danced within them. Leo loved to paint. He painted the town's bustling market on a Saturday morning, capturing the vibrant colors of fruits and vegetables. He painted the serene lake at sunrise, with its waters reflecting the golden hues of dawn. He painted the faces of the townsfolk, each stroke bringing out the stories hidden in their smiles and frowns. Yet despite his talent, Leo never sold a single painting. When asked why he didn't sell his work, Leo would simply smile and say, "I paint for the joy it brings me and others." This answer puzzled many. They couldn't understand why someone with such skill wouldn't want to share it with the world. After all, art was meant to be seen, appreciated, and in many cases bought. But Leo had a different perspective. To him, the act of painting was not just about the finished product. It was about the process, the emotions, and the connections it fostered. As time passed, Leo's paintings began to accumulate in his studio. Each canvas told a story, a moment frozen in time, yet none of them ever found a home outside his walls. The townsfolk would often stop by to admire his work, marveling at the way he captured the essence of their lives. They would compliment his skill, but when it came to purchasing, they hesitated. The thought of owning a piece of Leo's art felt almost too sacred, as if they would be breaking a spell by taking it away from the studio. One day, a traveler named Mia visited the town. She was an artist herself, wandering from place to place, seeking inspiration and new experiences. When she stumbled upon Leo's studio, she was captivated. The painting spoke to her in a way that few others did. Each piece resonated with a depth that seemed to echo the very heartbeat of the town. She spent hours in his studio, absorbing the colors, the emotions, and the stories behind each canvas. After her visit, Mia approached Leo, her eyes shining with excitement. "Your work is incredible," she said. "Why don't you sell any of these? They deserve to be seen by more people." Leo chuckled softly. "I appreciate your kind words, but selling them isn't my goal. I paint to connect with the world around me, to express what I feel. Once a painting leaves my studio, it becomes someone else's interpretation. I want to keep the essence of these moments intact." Mia pondered his words. She understood the sentiment, but couldn't help but feel that art was meant to be shared. "What if you held an exhibition? You could invite the townsfolk and show them your work. They might change their minds about buying." Leo considered this idea. An exhibition would indeed bring people together, but he worried that the focus might shift from the joy of creation to the pressure of selling. Still, he agreed to hold the event, curious to see how it would unfold. The day of the exhibition arrived, and the small studio was filled with laughter, chatter, and the smell of fresh paint. Villagers gathered, their eyes wide with wonder as they explored the collection. They moved from canvas to canvas, discussing their favorite pieces, sharing stories, and reminiscing about the moments Leo had captured. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a sense of community and connection. As the evening wore on, Leo noticed something unexpected. People were not just admiring the paintings, they were engaging with them. They saw themselves reflected in the colors and strokes. They shared their own stories, inspired by the emotions Leo had poured into his work. The paintings became a bridge, connecting hearts and minds in a way that transcended mere ownership. As the night came to a close, Leo stood back, watching the scene unfold. He felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of fulfillment that went beyond the idea of selling. The joy of painting had transformed into something greater, a shared experience, a collective celebration of life. At the end of the evening, a few villagers approached Leo, expressing their desire to buy a painting. But instead of feeling pressured, Leo felt a sense of peace. He realized that the true value of his art lay not in the transaction, but in the connections it fostered. He decided to gift a few paintings to those who felt a deep connection to them, knowing that the act of giving would create a bond that money could never replicate. As the weeks passed, Leo continued to paint, but he also found joy in sharing his work with the community. He held regular gatherings where people could come, paint, and share their stories. The studio became a hub of creativity and connection, a place where art was not just about the finished product, but about the journey and the people it touched. In the end, Leo never sold a painting in the traditional sense, but he gained something far more valuable. He discovered that art, when shared, has the power to unite, inspire, and heal. The townsfolk no longer saw his paintings as mere objects. They viewed them as pieces of their shared lives, reflections of their collective experiences. Leo's story reminds us that sometimes, the true worth of our passions lies not in their market value, but in the connections we create along the way. Art, like life, is best when shared, and the joy it brings can be far more fulfilling than any price tag.